We've been talking about all these campsites recently on the show, and I have one of the most fascinating people on any of these campsites. Her name is Aella. She does this entire mime act, which is unbelievable. I'm going to bring her up right now on the air. Aella, you there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
How are you?
Oh my god, it works! That's wonderful.
Let's see if I could do this. Hold on. There we go. Oh, there we go.
Ha! Hello?
Hey, Aella.
That's pretty trippy.
I was a little concerned that you wouldn't be speaking since you're a mime, but I'm glad that you decided not to.
I'm not always a mime, actually.
So how did the mime... I have so many questions for you, but how did the mime thing start?
Well, I was really drunk last Halloween, and some friends had some white paint, and I looked at that, and I was like, you know what, I could use that somehow.
And that's it?
Yeah,
you decided I'm going to paint my face and do this whole...
So I decided to get on cam and try... Well, I have like 3 different images of my face going on. Hold on. We can take out one of those. All right. So I tried getting on cam as a mime at one point, and it was very, very successful. So I'm like, I'm going to keep doing this. And then I did.
Where do I begin? So how do you... And I'm always fascinated, like, you... Obviously, you're young, you're attractive. How do you get into going on cam?
Well, I mean, obviously it's different for different people. For me personally, I had a boyfriend at the time last year who suggested it because he was very adventurous and open-minded, and I didn't really think anything of it until I broke up with him and I didn't have a job and I needed money. So I was like, sounding like a much better option now.
I would imagine that the first time going on, were you comfortable with it, or were you thinking, oh my God, what am I doing at this time?
Well, I was terrified out of my mind. I started out on Flirt for Free, which is not a site many people know that well, at least compared to Chatterbait and My Free Cams. And it's not a very good site. I don't recommend it. But it was so scary. I had to sit there, I'd drink a whole bunch of alcohol and prep myself for 15 minutes before finally clicking the broadcast button. And then I made $80 the first night, and I was so excited.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of money. How many hours were you doing it? Was it like a couple of hours just hanging out there, or?
Well, at the time, I was sleeping on a couch at my best friend's house in Idaho, and so I wasn't able to cam that much because I could only use her room when she was out, so it didn't work out very well, but enough to sustain me, which was nice, to eat food.
I would imagine, I mean, for a lot of people, there are people that do this full-time, obviously, right?
Oh, yes.
And are there a lot of people that are very successful at doing this? Like, I'm not talking about, like, I know there are a lot of porn stars that, they'll do like a camp thing. Like, for me, that's not my thing. Like, I don't really care for that. I don't care for someone that's like a professional at this. Like, I like the amateur aspect of it, and I think for a lot of people that's something that's interesting to them. How are there a lot of people that do this full time as their jobs?
I've actually run a couple cam girl surveys to try and figure out some data about camming habits, and approximately, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it's about 70% of girls do this as their only job.
That's a lot. I'm actually surprised to hear that. Yeah,
the majority of them do. I mean, it's good money.
But for you, I mean, did you? I don't want to get into your personal finance, but do you do this full time? Is this your thing? Okay, so this is your job. This is what you do.
Right. This has been my job for about a year. My only job.
How is it for you to explain to people? Like, do you tell people exactly what you do, or do you kind of tiptoe around it?
Well, sometimes I'm generally.
What was that, Spence?
I was going to say, I don't think it's any more difficult for her to explain what she does
as it is what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what you do is a lot more simpler than what I do. Like, people are like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I'm on the radio. Oh, what station? Well, it's not really the radio, it's the internet. Oh. And then you get that. You get, oh.
Yeah, always.
And then they're like, why don't you get a job, you hippie? I'm like, because I don't want to work.
Why don't you do what normal people do?
But how is it explained to people? Like, are you open about it? Or are you comfortable telling people?
It depends on the person. If it's in a professional setting, I usually tell them that I do freelance online digital work, like with retouching of photographs. But usually I'm very proud of what I do, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a cam girl. I get naked for money. And then I try. It's harder to explain the mime thing, because you say cam girl, and people are like, oh, you're in porn. I'm like, well, yeah, but it's a little more than that.
It is. And you know what? I think it's extremely safe. It's much safer to do what you're doing.
Yes.
I actually, like I'm fascinated. First of all, the mind map, which I have to get back into, but I don't even know where to begin with that. But with what you're doing, I almost feel like it's so much safer than, you know, even going and doing, you know, photography or like, you know, pictures, nude pictures, going out somewhere and doing it, or doing like porn somewhere. I don't consider it porn. Like I don't see it as porn. I don't know for you, Coke. Do you see it as porn or?
I don't know. I mean, well, not really. I mean, it's
because you love the campsites.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I just browse. You know, I haven't really I haven't really like set up an
account.
You know, an account really. I just kind of like, because you know, it's like when you are like on a porn site, it's like you click on something and then all of a sudden this pops up. It's like, wait a minute, this is actually kind of cool. It's interesting. You know, and it's like you told me about Chatterbait, and I'm just like, yeah, this is different from the other webcam.
I like it because I think the overall design of the website is good looking.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's all right there for you. You see like what you're about to see. You know, it's not just like a picture taken like 3 months ago. It's like what's happening at the moment. So that's also kind of cool.
So obviously you tell some people what you do, but at what point did it become full time for you? Like, was that a discussion that you had to have in your head? Like, am I going to do this full time? What are the risks of doing this full time? Like, how did you get into it as a full time job? You just didn't have a job and that's all you did, or?
Yeah, it was full-time from the get-go. I had a lot of money saved up from my previous job, which was a soul-sucking factory job with lots of hours a week. I hated it. But I saved very well, so I had enough money to last me for about a year. So I was sleeping on a friend's couch, living very frugally, and trying to make a living with photography. But it wasn't working because it was Idaho. Who buys photographs in Idaho? So the camming just took over, and it was automatically full-time.
At what point were you... So automatically it became full time, but let's. I kind of want to get into like your past. Like I read your blog. It's phenomenal because you go into your past of being from a house that was very religious. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you growing up? Like obviously anything sexual was kind of not okay to discuss or not okay to talk about or even view. Like how did you go from that upbringing to going on cam? Like it's such an extreme. Do you think because it was an extreme, like it was so overly conservative that you kind of said, forget about this, I'm just going in the total opposite end?
That is definitely a possibility. I prefer not thinking of it as rebellion, but to some extent it might be. I mean, your upbringing defines who you are, and I really dislike some of the things I encountered in my upbringing, which is sexual repression. And so this might be my personal way of expressing how my dislike of that whole world. But I think this would have happened regardless of my upbringing. But yeah, the upbringing was very... I feel like I'm repeating a lot of words. I should... Hold on. I'm going to do this.
What are you drinking? What is that?
Mad Housewife. It's a wine. It's great. Okay.
That's what I need. Mad Housewife wine.
You are a mad housewife.
I am. I have become a housewife. I'm a housewife of Queens, New York.
You are mad.
But yeah, so I mean, it's very freeing in this sense, and I really enjoy the sensation of being free. I really hate restrictions of any sort, except for the ones that are self-imposed. And so this job is pretty much the epitome. You can do what you want, cam how you want, you set your own limits, your own hours, and you essentially make your own pay, which is fantastic.
Now,
well, I'm curious, what kind of money do you make, if you can tell me? Or give me, like, what do you think the average amount of money someone who works as many hours as you work can make?
Well, I mean, the better question to ask is how much per hour, because the hours fluctuate highly. On my free camps, the average, if I remember correctly, it's about 420 to 460 tokens a minute. That could change because it does change. So which is about like 20 bucks an hour. So that is the average. That is the medium point. But on the graph for cam girls, at least on my free cams, those are the only girls I've studied. I haven't studied the Chatterbait models. But it's kind of like one of those graph things. I don't remember what you call them. It's been a while since I took a math class. But a vast majority of the girls make between 0 to 20, or literally half. But then the rest half can make up to, lots of girls make $500-600 an hour. Some of the top girls.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean that's unbelievable. But
yeah.
so I want to talk to you some of the cons of doing this. Have you been recognized at all
I have not.
You have not.
That might be because I just don't go outside my house.
I mean, that's why nobody recognizes me. I haven't left this house in 3 weeks. I just told Coco, like, I don't wear pants anymore. I'm just wearing like these gym shorts from my high school from 12 years ago.
You've been wearing that same shirt on every broadcast.
It's the same black V-neck. I have 4 of these. That's like that's all I do now. But have you ever thought about, like, what is your reaction going to be when someone comes up and be like, "Hey, I know you."
I'll be like, "Cool, you've seen my boobs. High five." I don't know.
Have you gotten any kind of, like, obviously you have a chat room, much like what we do here. Have you, obviously, crazy stuff, like, is there anything that you have been insulted by, like, because obviously you're out there, you're nude, you have thousands of people watching you, has there been anything that caught your eye, you're like, oh my god, that is the most insulting thing I've ever heard?
Not necessarily. I have a pretty thick skin. Like, I mean, I know most of the people who insult me are just trying to get a rise out of me. I know 4chan likes to post about me a lot, so obviously you get some shit from there. And I did an AME on Reddit a couple weeks ago, which I got so much hate mail. It was crazy. People were like, this whore, she just did it for the boobies and the money. I'm like, well, fuck you all. It was stupid. But mostly it's great. Mostly it's fine. And nothing really gets under my skin, so I'm just like, whatever. Psh, you wish you could mime on the internet and make a living through that.
Any weird, like, what's off limits for you?
Off limit? Well, I don't do anal.
Okay. I guess we both have the same thing that's off limits.
Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe one day I'll do anal if I'm like in a coma and somebody has a bucket of lube or something.
But there's like a lot of requests for that, obviously.
Well, actually, no. Most people don't request for sexual things. I mean, I do them on rare occasions. Frequently, they're intermixed with strange things. Like I did a FAP show as a mime very recently. That was interesting.
Okay.
I think the weirdest request, I've had a couple. One of my favorite weird requests was to role play as Melisandre from Game of Thrones. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. The red woman. Do you watch that show at all?
No. Everybody tells me that I need to watch it. I have this weird thing. Now you're going to learn a little about me. I'm mentally ill on many levels, but I could only have like 5 or 6 shows that I'm watching at any given time, or like 4 shows. If I watch more than that, I'll be turned off to every show because I feel like I've wasted so much time watching TV.
All right.
So it's not in my I guess list right now.
Well, that means you make priorities of the shows that you watch. But I posit this hypothesis that you should take Game of Thrones and just bump that up to the top of the list. And
listen, there's way too many housewives of whatever for me to remove from my list. I watch daytime TV all day long. I get my Pinot Grigio at 2:00. And I put on Housewives, and I watch Bravo, and it's fabulous. It's amazing.
Yeah, and Wonder Years is on Netflix now, so, you know.
I watched all of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
And more.
And yeah. But, so, you don't really get anything weird. Like, have you been, like, outside of the thing? Like, have you gotten emails, like, people, like, offering you money for sex or anything like that?
Oh, yes. Just look at your chat room right there.
Yeah. Oh, did someone just say it? Who wrote it? Can I guess?
Was that Ratty?
Was it Ratty?
It was Jerry.
Oh, Jerry. Bald Jerry. No, I mean, like, but do you get that on a regular basis? Like, I had a interesting discussion with Lexi Love, a friend of the show, and she was saying, like, she'll get, like, every day, like, she gets those offers. Like, every single day, she'll get an email saying, like, I'll pay you, 10 grand, 20 grand to, do whatever.
Jerry just offered 500. Jerry, you better up your price there, man.
Jerry, what are you doing?
Worth more than that.
What, like, do you...
Jerry's an accountant, though. He's pretty frugal.
He's very frugal. I would imagine, like, sometimes you'll get, like, a number and you're like, oh, my God, like, that's something to consider. And other times you're like, oh, my God, that's all they're offering me?
Right.
Like, what is that about?
Yeah, well, I have not seen a number high enough to make me stop and go, yet. So...
Do you have a number in your head? Because obviously mine.
Yeah.
Everybody has a number. Is it 6 figures or are we talking?
Well, yeah, no, not quite 6 figures.
Come on, up your price.
Well,
Maybe 5.
It probably depends on the guy as well.
See, the seller does not name their price first. The buyer does, and then you haggle from there. That's how haggling works.
Oh, is that how it works?
That is.
I just find this thing amazing. I mean, how many days a week do you go on cam?
Earlier this year I was going around 4 to 5. Now I'm at 3, but I just went to the Cam Mansion, so my schedule's all fucked up.
I'm very
but
disappointed. We
usually-
haven't gotten a MyMac in a while.
What is the Cam Mansion? What are you
Yeah, what
talking
is
about?
that?
Me? Okay. The Cam Mansion is a week-long event that happens twice a year where 20 top cam models come from around the country and sometimes the world to stay in a mansion in Las Vegas for a week, and then they all just kind of cam in one giant cam blob of nakedness and boobs and lubrication. It's great.
So you are
It's
one.
so
Of, you are
Sounds
the
great.
top, you're one of the top 20 cam girls in the country.
No. Well, okay. It depends on how you define top 20. Sophia Locke runs the event, and she invites a certain percentage of cam girls, and then the first cam girls to complete the application and the fee get in.
Okay.
So-
So, but you're the number one mime, I'm assuming.
I would like to think of myself as the number one mime.
Yeah, I think that should be like your slogan. Like everybody needs, like, I'm the number one mime act on the internet
The number one mime in webcams.
in camming. Like,
That's true.
yeah, like I like to say I'm the number one internet broadcaster in Bayside, Queens. Like
The new
I
face
could
of
actually say
Chatterbait.
that. Like there's nobody else.
The new face of Chatterbait.
Barely got internet here. It is. So you go to this mansion. You have all these girls there. Everybody's getting naked. Like, I'm sure a lot could go wrong. Like, do people get a little too drunk and then they get a little sensitive about stuff? Or people?
No, we generally just get horny when we're drunk. Last time at the Cam Mansion, well, last time was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. There was a giant 10-girl orgy in the hot tub, off camera, completely off camera. Just cuz. It's great.
Is it difficult dating for someone like you that does, that goes on camera and gets naked and men all around the world are watching? How difficult is it to date? How do you tell someone that you're starting to date, like, oh, this is what I do? Are you okay with it?
Well, I don't like dating, personally. I know a lot of cam girls have trouble with it. There are some forums, so I get to see a lot of the girls' stories, and they have issues like, oh, my guy came home early, and then I had to stop, stuff like that. But I personally am fine, totally happy being single, so I don't have to put up with that yet.
Is it that you don't want to date right now, or like in the past, like you mentioned your boyfriend, but have you been in a relationship after that it's been brought up, or?
Well, I did date, not too recently, at some point while I was camming, and it was okay. It was a little difficult at times because my boyfriend at the time didn't want me to go too far on cam and kind of like pressured me not to be too sexual. So that was a little hard because sometimes I'm like, well, fuck, I just drank half a bottle of wine and now I want a fap and I can't, kind of deal. But in general, the rest of that relationship was okay in regards to camming.
I imagine it's like the biggest problem I would have is, God forbid someone recognizes me. Like, I always think about that, like, someone may see what I'm doing. And by the way, Spencer, fapping is masturbating. I know. And Coco's looking at me too. It's like, what is fapping?
I see that everywhere.
I wrote him. I'm like, should I know what fapping is?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because like I always see it like on every site. It's like greatest fap videos, and it's like, oh, check out this fap video. I'm like, what? Fap?
I've never seen greatest fap video anywhere.
Well, that's because you don't surf as
How are
much
you
as
on the
I do.
internet without knowing that.
All right. Well, while we're talking about this stuff, what does Gonzo mean, by the way?
Gonzo? I don't know.
Gonzo?
That's
He's a
like your
Muppet.
era. Gonzo's a Muppet.
He's a
yeah.
Muppet. He has a pet
Oh.
chicken.
Gonzo had a chicken?
Yeah,
don't know.
You taught my era. My era pornography was in black and white.
It's unbelievable. I would
when
like
dudes had
I
sideburns
would fear
everywhere.
getting recognized somewhere, like that and you can't, like, I can't commit a crime. Like, look at my eyebrows. Like, do you know, like, if I committed a crime, like, do you know how easy it is to draw me?
Dude,
Like,
I look like
I'm recognizable. Like, people, like,
People think you're Groucho Marx.
I do have the Groucho thing going. But I mean, you don't worry about that at all. Like, you're perfectly fine with it. Like, do your friends know what you do? Like, outside of what, friends that you've made in this business, but like people that are around you, like, do they all know what you do? What do they think of it?
Yep, most of my friends know what I do. The only ones who don't are a couple acquaintances back from conservative homeschool life. who would really disapprove. I don't think my parents know what I do, although my mom has dropped a couple comments, kind of worrisome, like, do you think I really believe that you do this for a living, like photography stuff?
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
So what does she think you do?
Well, I tell her that I do digital retouching for photographs. Like,
I mean, but that's not like a
Photoshop.
crazy thing. Like I would, if my kid came to me and was like, "Oh, I do Photoshop work," I wouldn't think, "Oh, you're full of it."
Yeah, well, I took her to France on a vacation earlier this year. Like, I paid for it and everything, and so I think she's a little suspicious about that. Like, how do you make this much money through Photoshop work? And
I'm really good
Editors
at
get
it.
paid well. Like you got a good editing job, you're
I'm
making
really
money.
good at it.
It's a
I'm
really nice gift for Mom.
yeah, I love her to death, and she loves France. So it was an amazing trip.
Wow, that's heavy.
Was it? I guess when you turned 18, you kind of broke out and you did whatever you did. Like, was that difficult for you to, like, did you, because of your upbringing, did you think twice about things that you were doing?
Well, I ran away from home when I was 17, and I lived completely on my own since then. And I was Christian
How old are
well
you?
until
How old are you now?
I'm 21, so
21.
it hasn't been that long. But I was Christian until I was 18, and then that's when I left the Christian faith due to discrepancies I found in the Bible that I could not answer. And then I very gradually, over the next year, loosened up in my views towards social morality and behavior. And then it's moved kind of quickly. I know I said gradually, but it was pretty fast change.
I mean, you have an interesting blog on your website about, you know, the first time you held a guy's hand and what a big
Right.
deal that was. And I would imagine, like, that's something that goes with you for the rest of your life. Like, that was such a big deal that you were holding this guy's hand.
Right.
And now, like, was there ever a moment that you said, I'm at such an opposite end of what I was doing? Like, what was the defining moment? You said obviously the Bible, but how was that when you were 17 and you ran away, or was that later on you realized what was going on?
Well, I was extremely moral when I was 17 and ran away. I still believed in being a virgin until marriage, and I was an incredibly upstanding young girl even after I left home. So it was changed. There was no defining moment. I was dating my first boyfriend at the time, and I was having urges that did not quite fit within the standard concept of the Christian relationship, such as non-monogamy. I am highly polyamorous, and I was like, hey, I find other people hot, and I don't see any logical reason why I should not engage in some sort of relationship with
So
them.
you felt guilty, I mean, to even think about that.
Well, yes, there was a massive amount of guilt, especially at first. I'm mostly over that now. But for a long time, guilt was incredibly pervasive. Especially with masturbating. When I first started masturbating, like I would cry to God. I'd be like, God, please help me, fap. And then it was awful.
I would flip like the Saint Mary picture around.
Did
and
you
all that
really?
stuff.
Are you
Yeah.
are you being serious?
No, I'm serious. Like in my bedroom as a kid, there was a huge picture of Saint Maria. I would put like a towel over it so she wasn't looking at me. Then after a while, I replaced that with like a Playboy Playmate.
Are you really serious?
I'm serious.
Like you would
It
feel
was
guilty
huge.
looking
Like,
at
it was bigger than that.
See, I didn't.
I would cover my Joe Namath poster.
Dude, I would flip down all the pictures. Like I had like my second grade, like not my second. I was like my fifth grade picture. I would like flip it down so no one could see it. So they wouldn't see me.
See, like I never grew up in a religious house. Like I don't
did,
know what
yeah.
that's like. Like I don't. Like I remember, like my mother would go to church on Easter with my younger brothers, and my
That's it.
father would be like, "You want to go to the auto show? I'm not going to that place. Like I'm not going to church." Like, and we would go to the auto show. Like that was my childhood. Like it's so foreign to me, this concept of like you got it. Like everything is bad. Like what else other than sexual stuff? Like what else were you not supposed to do?
Well, we weren't allowed to disagree with our parents on anything. When we spoke to them, it had to be yes, dad, or yes, mom at all times. If not, we got spanking. If they told us not to do something, there was no second chance. They didn't believe in countdowns. Like if they, you know, how people do like 3, 2, 1, and you have the chance to obey. That didn't exist at all. Weren't allowed to make faces that are food or well, obviously take Lord's name in vain, but that seems a lot worse in comparison.
Yeah. It's just amazing to me.
It's highly centered on control, which is the whole philosophy of the Christian religion: control, submission, and obedience. You're supposed to sacrifice your own personal identity to a higher authority figure, and that goes in stages: the children to the parents, the wife to her husband, the husband to the church, and the church to God. So everything you are is a constant state of sacrificing what you think and feel to somebody you consider to be greater than you.
See, but like obviously that's like an extreme for most people, right? I mean that's the extreme
when you're,
side
when
of
you're
it.
in it, though, when
Some
you're a
people
part of
take it more seriously than others, but in general, that is the basic philosophy.
I mean,
of,
but Coco,
at
you
least
went
Christian.
I went to
you went to
Catholic
Catholic school.
school, yeah.
You
But when you're a part of it, you don't see it as being any like extreme. You just see it as like
Right.
this is what the way life is.
so what
supposed
happened
to
with
be.
you, where you didn't like you got disconnected from all of it?
Well, like kind of the same thing. It's just like things that you know that can't be explained. You know, every explanation is like, well, this is the way God made it. And it's like, well, how is that possible? How is this real? How is you start questioning things, and like even like it really started dawning on me like in my early 20s, like when I would see, when the whole thing was happening with the Catholic Church, when like all these priests were getting caught, and I saw a priest from my old church on the front cover of the Newsday 3 days in a row, like the guy who did my confirmation, my graduation, my sister's marriage, a guy I knew and I trusted and thought he was great, and it's like all this stuff's happening, and he got away, doing all this stuff, and you just stop and think, it's like how can that be right? How is this okay?
But see, like that's something that I would question. Like,
Of course,
if anybody went through that, like I think they would question it.
I mean, in all honesty, in high school, one of the things he said was, how can the story of Adam and Eve be true? Because they had two sons, and even if it was a son and a daughter, there would be something wrong if more people came from that. And it just, you just stop and think about it. It's like, wait a minute, that's right. That doesn't make sense. How is this all true? How does it all add up?
See, I don't know. Maybe I just don't get it. Like I was never connected to that. I guess you guys both, how is your mother with it now? Like she obviously knows you're not.
Yeah, she knows. I
And
mean,
your brother and sister are obviously not religious.
yeah, they're not religious anymore. Like one of my sisters still believes in God, and it's like, it's like whenever I do something like, when I lost the weight and everything, it's like, oh, I prayed to God, and now he answered my prayer for you, and I'm like, Ma, I've been fat for freaking 28 years, and now he's gonna answer your prayer. I'm like, I worked hard, and all that stuff.
So maybe
It's
you
like,
didn't pray. You gained it back.
yeah, well, that's what happened. Someone probably prayed and said, what, make him fat again. He doesn't believe in
possible.
you. But
So I want to ask you, how much longer do you think you want to do the camming thing? Like, is this like where do you go from this? Like when you're camming, like what other things can you do? Like you just brought up Sophia Locke. Like she brings all these girls to the cam. Like, is there any like other than camming? Like, can you have your own camming business? What can you do with it?
Well, you can try and create your own cam site, but that's very hard to get over the initial bump of you need the cam girls to attract the members and the members to attract the cam girls. It doesn't work very well unless you've already got a large startup fund, which I don't. I try to develop skills through my camming. Like, for example, I played the accordion or miming. Like maybe one day after I get old and saggy, nobody wants to see my boobs anymore, I can go out on the street and be like, hey, look, I've got skills, something like that. I also code girls' profile. Well, not code. I Photoshop girls' profiles for them on my free cams for free, so that gives me some experience. So I try to incorporate as many abilities as I can into what I do so that I will eventually be very skilled at something.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Spence, look at that. The American dream.
I love it.
I do too.
I think it's great. Very entrepreneurial.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, obviously your Twitter, people can follow you there.
Right.
People, which we're gonna have links all up on our website when we're posting this. What's your Twitter handle so people know?
My Twitter is Aella_girl. Aella girl, because Aella was taken.
And
A-E-L-L-A.
you're on My Free Cams, and on My Free Cam, I think you said this to me before, but correct me if I'm wrong. On My Free Cam, you do like an actual, you're yourself, and then on ChatterBait, you are the mime.
Correct. Yes.
do you ever cross over the mime into the other show, into the other site, and then like you
well,
into
I
the
started
other?
out with the mime on my free cams, and then I tried the mime on Chatterbait, and it went so well. I'm like, I'm never taking off the mime on Chatterbait now. So I'm 100% mime on Chatterbait, and so far I'm completely not. I'm very vocal on my free cam. So if you're into that,
Vocal in what way? Oh, that way. Okay.
also talking that too.
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing like, talking about religion and politics.
Oh well, yeah, that too as well. I have a lot of very strong opinions I voice over there.
Excellent. Again, my free cam, you're on there. You're on Chatterbait. Now this is gonna be weird. Like I'm like, if I'm ever on there and I see you, like, do I log in as myself and be like, hey, Aella, how you doing? Like,
Sure.
I would think that's a little uncomfortable.
Well, dudes do it too, though.
No. Like I'm saying, like
For
now,
which
like
one of
I
us?
know her, like obviously I saw her on there,
Right,
But
oh,
like
okay, yeah,
now,
yeah.
like we've had like a full conversation. Like she's been on the show.
Right.
Like where it's not like this.
I
like,
know. I
I'm
feel like
watching-
I can't like look at them again because I'm afraid to like just like find
I
her
can't.
there,
I
but,
can't
like,
watch you now. Like
she's
the
so
mime act-
like cool and
plan on
sweet
watching.
and
You what?
Yeah.
You playing on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now I know what she's about. I want to log in.
I'll tell you. I sat down. I watched that mime act from the beginning to the end. Like Jess and I were just like, we found like after the show we go on and I'm like, this is her, because I was telling my
Did
wife.
you see the chair fuck show?
I didn't see the chair fuck show. I missed the chair
What?
fuck show, and then I saw your Twitter that there was a chair fuck show.
Yes, the chair fuck show. If for those who don't know, this is a summary of the chair fuck show.
okay.
It's a person.
Roger, got it.
Yeah.
I dress up a chair.
See, when I'm alone, I do the floor fuck show. That's it. I mean, I can't now because I have carpeting, but
No, it's very painful. Get
be hard to
burned.
clean. It's hard to wipe up.
Ayla, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it.
problem.
And I will log into your chat room and I will say hello, and it'll be a very uncomfortable hello because you'll know that I am extremely uncomfortable.
Don't let my boobies make you uncomfortable. They're very nice.
No, now
French.
that like we've had a conversation, like it's like, oh, I'm
Exactly.
Oh, there,
It's gonna
I
be
know
like,
her.
It's gonna be like one of these like.
It's okay if you know me. Get over your preconceptions, man. It's okay to fap.
By the way, I like look at the gnomes in the back. Do you see that?
The gnomes?
Yeah, there's gnomes everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
I don't want to know anything.
I think
about those
don't they have
gnomes.
erections also?
They have hard
Yeah,
hats.
well, here, let me really fast.
One of them has an erection.
Those are awesome shorts, by the way.
Thank you.
Now you see you're getting weird again.
I'm just saying that what
Yeah.
that's got to not be like the worst thing she's heard.
No, the
Okay.
gnome has an erection.
No, he doesn't. Look at his hat. It's flaccid.
It's flaccid. Ayla, thank you so much for calling
he
in.
does have-
Yes,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it. All right.
Appreciate it.
Ayla, everybody, you can follow her on Twitter, Ayla_girl, also on MyFreeCam, Chatterbait, everything you could imagine. I was dying to have her on. I had so many questions.
She was cool.
Yeah,
I mean, she seems
like a very, very sweet girl, and she's very attractive.
Yeah.
young lady.
Very attractive.
I didn't really know what to say to her, to tell you the truth. I mean, once I realized I had no idea what fapping was, I figured, you know what, I
You
need
were
to
out of
step
it.
away.